Welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another review show. Obviously, with games on Friday night, guys, we didn't get to see them all. We're doing this Saturday morning because there's games on Monday. So just to get the review show out before Monday's games, basically, we're going to give our predictions for Monday's games as well. But so there's no shortage of drama, JP, and we will start off actually Baileyman Park with the Bohemians 2, Harps 2. We did predict this to be a draw, I think, but we didn't envisage the drama in the game. And obviously, McWoods got sent off after 6 minutes for Finn Harps. Some say it's harsh. I personally didn't see it, so I can't comment. But, Mihailovic scored after 20 minutes of penalty. The Void, 49 penalty. Cooch, 57, get Bohs the lead. Timlin, I did see that goal late on. I think 3 or 4 minutes in the injury time to give Harps the draw. Good for him because he's had a lot of injuries throughout the seasons. But first of all, I'll say, look, unbelievable from Finn Harps. They're scoring a lot of goals this season. They did this last season against Sligo when they were down to 9 men. And they did it again here because they got a late red card as well. And they were down to 9 men when they actually got the equaliser. So you have to give Harps a serious amount of credit for that, don't you, really? And it's a great point.
Aye, but it's everything that we've known with Finn Harps under Ollie Horgan is they're never beaten till the final whistle goes. As you mentioned, they did it last year against Sligo with 9 men. They've done it last night against Bohs with 9 men, and you have to give them huge credit just to keep going because results went against them elsewhere. So it's a huge point for them, in the context. And then we seen last week against Derry, even though they went 2-0 down late on, they still kept pushing, and they got to go back, and they're never beaten till the final whistle goes. But from a Bohs point of view, you've got to be absolutely disgusted that you haven't won that game from the position that they were in. A red card after 6 minutes, you're playing near essentially the entire game against 10 men. You go 2-1 up, you're then down to 9 men. I think, look, full credit to Harps for keep going, but I think Bohs have to see that one out, see that game out, really, don't they? Especially against 9 men.
Absolutely. Bohs have taken the lead in 8 games this season. There's 10 games gone this season. They've obviously only 2 wins. We've talked about them before, conceding late goals in games. But for me, if you've got 11 men in the field and you're against 9 men, who, by the way, would probably be more tired essentially because they've had most of the game with 10 men, and it's hard. You know yourself, it's harder to get around the pitch and things like that. You can't be conceding a late goal against 9 men. It just can't happen. Something's gone wrong there. I mean, obviously someone's not doing their job. Not someone, but a number of players clearly aren't doing their job. You're not working hard enough. You've got to see that out. You're playing. You've 2 extra men on the field. You can't be conceding a goal like that. And from Bo's point of view, and I see people talk with the manager. That's up to the players. There's a lack of leadership in the team. They've a lot of young players, we know that, but someone has to grab the game there, and and you don't even have to sit back as such, but there should be options on the counter attack as well in that scenario too. And it's such a soft goal that they conceded for Timlin. It's not as if it was a ball into the area and it was headed in. I mean, he kind of waltzes through them a little bit. It's a tidy finish, and well done to Mark Timlin for doing that. But I'm sure even Finn Harps fans would agree. I mean, if the shoe was on their foot, you know what I mean? If I'm Keith Long, I'm in the dressing room and I'm just kicking up order.
It's not even the manner they're conceding the goals, it's how late they're conceding them. They've done it against Derry in the 93rd minute. They've now done it against Finn Harps in the 92nd minute. They conceded in the 88th minute against Drogheda. They were winning that game against Drogheda as well. They were winning against Finn Harps. They were getting a point against Derry. They went to UCD and they got absolutely played off the pitch. As you say, there's a lack of leadership there somewhere. A lot of people point the finger at the manager, but there's probably a wee bit of inexperience on the pitch. And in them situations, you need somebody like Keith Buckley, who we know's not there. Keith Ward, who's gone to Dundalk. You need them kind of players there just to tell the lads, look, don't do anything stupid. Keep it tight. Hold their ship. Sometimes players, yes, the manager gives the instructions, but sometimes players need to take responsibility for themselves and realise that when something's not going wrong and not going right in the pitch, they need to realise, oh, maybe we can do something different here. that's like I've mentioned, there are 3 games now. 2 of them's been at home where they've conceded in the 90th minute or beyond.
Mm.
And like the manager can only do so much on the training field. He can only say so much in the dressing room. The players then have to take responsibility and say, right, we've conceded lit against Derry. Let's not make the same mistakes. They've made different mistakes, and they need because this is going to get very, very messy for Bohs if they don't if they don't get their act together.
Yeah, funnily enough, from Finn Harps' point of view, great point in the end, but 3 points above UCD, and it's only 5 points behind Shelbourne and Drogheda. So they're in a situation where they obviously do need
A
to pick
good
up a
point,
couple
but
of wins soon. Yeah,
it's a good point for him, but at the same time, it probably feels like a defeat if you get me drift, because of how the results went elsewhere. They were probably expecting the UCD result, but they certainly weren't expecting the Shelbourne result. But as I say, as we keep saying, it's a league where anybody can beat anybody, and that's exactly what happened last night.
yeah. I suppose we'll get on to the shot. I think, anyway, the surprise result of the season so far, JP, is Derry City 1, Shelbourne 2. Akintunde gave Derry the lead after 30 minutes. Shane Farrell, we were talking about him on 68, equalised. Brian McManus with a good finish to 75. Now, I suppose the biggest surprise about this, first of all, Derry's lost their first match this season. Second of all, we often talk about how Shelbourne struggled to get goals, but to come from behind at Derry and get 2 goals was rather surprising. You were obviously at the match. I'll just say, though, that Shelbourne actually the second best away record in the league and are unbeaten, believe it or not, away from home.
I didn't know that till yesterday afternoon when I read something. So when I read that, I thought, it's going to be, well, we always believed that it was going to be a difficult game anyway, because I keep saying Damien Duff sets them up hard to beat, and he's got them. He's taken that Van Harps result before the international break, and he's used it. Because they're unbeaten. Like they very nearly got a draw against Shamrock Rovers last week at home. And they've gone to Brandywell this week, and they've come from behind. They won by 2-1, and look, they thoroughly deserved it in the second half. First half, the game was going through the form. Derry had them pinned in, had a couple of chances. Great finish by Akintunde, took it well. Now I know Shelbourne were unhappy with the award of it. They felt that it probably should have been a handball. When you see the replay, it does look like it struck his arm, but the camera angle is so far away that you don't know exactly where on the arm it hits him, because if it hits him on the sleeve line above, anything above the sleeve line, that's not a handball. So
you think the referee basically didn't see it to give it anyway?
I don't. I think he's close to it. He's closer than what anybody would have been closer to it. So he's probably seen where it struck him on the arm, or he's probably thinking, I don't know where it struck him, so I can't sort of give it. Look, but take nothing away from Akintunde. He's done well. He's got his space away, and he's put it beyond Brendan Clark. Derry had a couple of chances. Shelbourne started to panic a wee bit after that. Clark made a couple of rash clearances. One where he cleared it and it fell to Brandon Kavanagh, but it was on Kavanagh's right leg. If it's on his left, he probably hits it first time and probably scores. But look, Shelbourne didn't lay a glove in there in the first half, and that's not being disrespectful, but they didn't. They were happy to contain, and then Derry got the lead, and their first corner of the game came in stoppage time at the end of the first half, where they messed it up, where the corner taker took a shot and it was played back to him and he was offside, and the referee blew for half time. But whatever was said in the dressing room by Damien Duff, keep doing it, because they came out a different animal in that second half, and they totally deserved their win. Right at the start of the second half, they had a chance to equalise. That Shane Farrell was it Shane Farrell, Dervin, I can't remember, won the ball back and fed Dan Ciaran. It was similar to when the goal that their equaliser. It's played under him. He takes the first time across yard side, and he's very close. The second one, or the actual equaliser, Derry disappointed. Brandon Kavanagh be disappointed. He tries to do too much in front of his back four. He gets caught on it, and a great through ball, I think, from Ciaran Farrell, and absolute great finish. Derry then actually thought they got themselves back in front, but the referee the linesman saw an offside against McGonigal. Corner comes in, McJanet heads it. You see the replay, McGonigal tries to get out of the way, but because he's in that because he's in that area vicinity, the referee deems him to be active, so the offside was given. And
Was he in front of the goalkeeper, JP? Do you think he onside the keeper?
He wasn't in front of goalkeeper, no. But where the ball's actually going, he actually has to jump out of the way. So that's the only reason I can think that he's given it for offside, is that he's actually had to get out of the way. Or has the referee maybe thought that he's touched the ball and the linesman's put the flag up? That's another thing. We won't know. Nobody will know. Only Rob Hennessy and his team will know. But fair play to Shelbourne. They went up the other end. They picked up a loose ball, which they did in the entire second half, and Brian McManus has just smacked it. And it's gone bottom corner. Gerdside, no chance. Gerdside took a lot of stick for the 2 goals, but when you see them back, they're 2 great finishes, and I think people are looking to pick Gerdside out of a line.
If that was Brian Maher, JP, they probably wouldn't have said much.
No, they wouldn't, and they're picking Gerdside out because it's his first game, and they're saying he's not good enough. Brian Maher was injured probably. If I anticipate that it was probably coming from that challenge where he came for the ball in Finn Park last week and landed awkwardly, even though he finished that game. But if them 2 goals are scored against Brian Maher, nobody says anything. So just take it with a pinch of salt. We weren't good in the outfield. Shelbourne have scored 2 really very good goals. So don't be blaming the goalkeeper because it's his first game. Don't be blaming him. It's easy to blame the goalkeeper. Look, who knows? One of the 2 Maher may have saved, but we'll never know that because he wasn't in nets. So we just have to dust ourselves down, go again on Monday. But full credit to Shelbourne. They were 100%. They enjoyed, or they
We spoke about Shane Farrell before, and obviously he got a goal. Was he their most lively attacker again, do you think?
Oh, he was. The first half, he seemed to play more as a front 2 along with Dan Kiar. Second half, he dropped off a wee bit into the spaces. And Derry lost the ball in the front to back 4. Now, you know the way Derry play with the wing backs at this stage. At this stage, Lafferty had come on for Akintunde, so Derry play with a wing back. So Danny he was just so close to getting in and cutting the pass out, but he just couldn't quite. And to be fair to Shane, he took it first day. And Gerdside couldn't set himself. Like he took it first day across the goalkeeper, and keeper had absolutely no chance. But the entire second half, Shelbourne were picking up all the loose balls. Derry weren't getting the second ball at all. With McElhinney came off, and we know his game time has to be managed. Now he was because we know what he's like with injuries. You just can't put him in and play 90 minutes. Now he was the man that was making things right. But at the same time, in the second half, Shelbourne were still, even though the time that he was on, Shelbourne were still on top, so to speak. And look, you have to give credit to Damien Duff. And you can see why they're unbeaten away from home as well, Keith. He sets them up. They play on the counter-attack. And that's exactly what they did last night. But in the second half, they were more of a fight. And now they didn't play on the counter-attack. They played on the front foot the second half. And they got their just rewards. And look, I know we've questioned Shelbourne this season in terms of creating chances, but they created an awful lot not an awful lot, but they created quite a few last night against Derry. And look, if they play like that, if they take that second half into the rest of this season, look, I know they're not going to, but you know what I'm trying to say. That they'll be a different team, and they'll be looking up rather than looking over their shoulders. And no, a very good one for Shelbourne. Derry didn't deserve it, but this is now where we spoke about Sligo in the past. How will they respond? They defeat. Like we know Derry gone behind this season in games and gone on to win and get points out of. But this is the first defeat as a new group, and will be interesting now to see how they respond, because Sligo haven't responded. Their first defeat, they've been in free fall. I don't think it'll happen to Derry, but I think we may go into a wee low where we might just have to dig in, fight, take a point, but hopefully going into I've no doubt that the players will be up for the game on Monday against Drogheda, because they have to be, because if you want to win league titles, you have to take the setbacks and go and get points in your next game. And Derry would have viewed this as a 3-pointer. They've lost it, so they just have to go now, dust themselves down, and pick themselves up and go again.
Absolutely. We'll get on to Sligo. They were beaten 2-1 at Oriel Park by Dundalk. Goals from Pat Hooban and Dan Kelly after 43. Match with a late one after 86. I was at this game as well, and I have to say, I think this was Dundalk's best performance of the season, based on what I've seen of them. They certainly controlled most of the match, JP. And early on, Sligo had a chance where Shepherd came out and made a very good save. It might have been Keane. It happened really quickly, so it was hard to see. Keane actually went off in the game he was in. A couple of injuries, actually. Keane went off. Bulger went off. I think he might have had a nick as well. Who else went off? Williams went off for Dundalk, and Benson went off for Dundalk. So fair few injuries in the match that both managers to be concerned about, particularly obviously with Monday's games coming in. But as soon as Sligo went behind, I didn't like their body language. They seemed to have completely thrown in the towel, be harsh, but confidence seemed to be just drip out of them, like just completely. The goal that was scored now, to be fair, McGinty will be disappointed because he's one of them. He comes out for a cross, completely misses it, and it drops to Hooban, who's in the right place at the right time, as you'd expect from Pat Hooban to score. Funnily enough, we spoke about Stephen Bradley in the previous show, and I was watching him very closely. He was using his right foot a lot more. So I have a question. Does Stephen Bradley watch this show? Because he was involved. He was involved. He played a good cross, I think, earlier in the game, I remember, with his right foot as well. And the goal, I know McGinty comes out and makes an error, but it does come from Bradley's right foot and the right as well. He was also involved in the goal that set up. It was a very good sweep and move. Daniel Kelly took it away neatly under Ed McGinty. And Bradley was actually very good in the game. And I had a lot more, confidence in him going forward, because do you remember I said, is he going to be maybe one trick pony his left foot? But he was kind of he was coming off the right wing as well. Like, he caused problems in the right wing, but other times he was switching it up a bit as well. So that's interesting. But Dundalk controlled the game. They look fairly good defensively as well. Sligo, I'd be a bit worried about them because, as you say, they're in free fall. They've lost 3 of their last 4. And one of them was a draw, and a late draw against UCD as well. They've never gone into the game. The second half, obviously Dundalk were 2 up, and it felt like there was another few gears in Dundalk. They were controlling it, but you felt like if they really went for it, they could get third in this game. They didn't. And Sligo got a goal back out of the blue, and you're thinking, oh my God, are Sligo going to somehow get an equaliser in the game? And they were putting on a little bit of pressure after that, as you can imagine. Dundalk dropped deep, but they didn't really look like scoring. So, I thought the performance from Dundalk was very good. From their point of view, very encouraging to get the 3 points. One they needed after getting quite a few draws. They've only been beaten once this season as well. And now they're the team up to third. There's only, we got 3 points between third and 8th after 10 games. But they'll be very impressed with that win. And, from Sligo's point of view, it's just worrying, isn't it? They were 2-1 flattered them big time, JP. I think 3-0 would have been a fair result on the night,
Yeah. Not only will Dundalk be delighted with it, they're happy with it. They're absolutely delighted because they finally picked up a win that's not against the bottom 2. And as we've said in the past, or maybe in the preview show, that they'll be looking to turn these tight games now, and they've done that, and they've done it against Sligo. It must be a confidence issue with them. They've been in free fall since they blew that 2-goal lead in Tower. They really have.
But that must be a mentality with them as well, JP, because that's more or less, out of all the teams, them and Shamrock Rovers have more or less, give or take, the same squad as last season. The bulk of the squad, the core is there. And they're either flying or they're getting terrible results. There literally is no in between. It's very strange, isn't it?
No, there's not. Where Shamrock Rovers seem to, from that game, Shamrock Rovers seem they've gone that way. Sligo seem they've gone that way. It has to be mentality.
It just seems to be one thing that goes wrong with them, JP, and there's a collapse.
It happened last year as well. Like, they lost against Shelbourne at home, and they haven't won a home game since before the international break or something like that. It's it's worrying for if you're a Sligo Rovers fan. It must be really worrying to see how they're collapsing, because one week they're chasing Derry and the next week now they're actually behind Dundalk as well, and Dundalk have only won 3 games all season. So but look, as we said at the start of the season, Dundalk will not be title challengers,
No.
but what they will be is they will be challenging for them European places. And look, they've hung in there. They've had 6 draws in 10 games, but they've hung in there. And the other teams around them haven't been picking up the wins, and they've been picking up the draws. Where we speak about, maybe sometimes would you prefer 3 defeats and 3 wins to 6 draws because you get more points, but you've got 6 draws and you've picked up 3 wins elsewhere, and now you find yourself in the third in the table. So it's it's a really good win for Dundalk, and I can only see them kicking on from here. I really can. And we talk about this group of the inconsistent group, and I think Stephen O'Donnell's now probably got his feet under the table as well, and I think now Dundalk will kick on from here. I really do, and I think we could see the title challenge between Derry and Shamrock Rovers. Then you maybe find Dundalk in third place, and the other teams fighting it out for fourth. And I think that's, and I'm not just being reactional now because Dundalk have gone into third, but they seem to be the team that they're not losing. They're not losing games. They're digging out results in games, whether it's a draw or a win. And they've only lost 1 game as well all season away to Drogheda. So really good win for Dundalk. And as I say, I can only see them kicking on from here now.
Yeah, absolutely. It is UCD now, Drogheda United 2 at Belfield. Chris Lyons penalty 61, Evan Ware on 89. And from what I've told, Drogheda United in the second half fully deserved to win the game after even-ish first half. But a big win for Drogheda, unbeaten and 5 on 12 points now. UCD at the bottom of the table, rooting of 4, no wins. From a UCD point of view, after you would say confidence boosts in draw, maybe in Sligo, this would be a game as well. They would have targeted and said, look, we're going to have to win some of these games soon. Drogheda are one of the teams before the game closer to them. So it's very disappointing for UCD. It does look like it's looking very difficult for them now. I know they're only 3 points behind Harps. You just said Harps can get wins here and there. From Drogheda's point of view, as I said, unbeaten in 5, 2 wins in that 5 run, up to 12 points, only 3 points off Europe as well as a Shelbourne. But a great result for them, and they'll be very happy with that. We talked about how Chris Lyons started this game. Dean Williams could start another game, and they have that little rotation, which is good for the Friday Monday games. They've actually a bigger squad than people outside of Drogheda might actually think, and they've got good options to rotate. So look, they'll be taking professional job done. Great win.
Aye, absolutely. Like they'll be thinking, they're probably, as you say there about being able to rotate. They're probably the only team outside maybe Derry, Shamrock Rovers, St Pat's that probably have that type of. I know Dundalk and Sligo now maybe have better players, better 11s. But you get what I'm trying to say. But they definitely have the better rotation, the better squad they rotate than Harps do, UCD, Shelbourne. And you'd anticipate that would the ability to do that will get them to safety before the rest of them. Like but look, they're in an absolute fantastic run. 5 games unbeaten, 2 wins. And this is a game that we expected that they would win. I know we spoke that UCD probably will be needing to target a game like this to get a win from, but I don't think anybody really thought that they would that they would get a result outside. Maybe anybody outside of UCD would have thought this. But massive win for Drogheda, especially with the Harps game ending a draw and Shelbourne getting a win in the Brandywell. So huge win for Drogheda. And they're up against a wounded animal now on Monday against Derry. And be interesting to see how that game goes, because they're the form team going into that game now, really, aren't they? So absolutely great win for them. And as you say, they're only 3 points off Europe, and nobody seems to want to grasp that. And if you put it, it's like 1 week you could be looking over your shoulder, and then all of a sudden you put 2, 3, 4 results back to back, and all of a sudden you're looking up up the table rather than down. And full credit to Kevin Doherty, because they were conceding goals at the start of the season. Even when they were winning games, they were conceding goals, and they've tightened that up over the last 4 or 5 games. And look, if you don't concede goals, you give yourself a real damn good chance of winning games, and that's what they've done over the last few weeks.
It is a major blow for UCD, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, because they would have been. Drogheda are only 5 points in front of us. If we come on this, we'll go 2 behind them. Now they're 8. Now they're 8 behind them, and all of a sudden they're thinking, right, we need to try and keep in touch with Harps if we want they avoid the drop this season. It's going to be difficult. They've no wins in 10 games. They're going to have to start winning games. You touched on it there with Finn Harps. You can probably feel that they could go to venues like Dalymount Park and Tolka Park and maybe even a Tala or the Brandywell and get a result. But with UCD, you don't have that confidence with them that they could do that. So it's going to be difficult for them. Even though we're only 10 games in, we thought at the start of the season that they wouldn't be our Longford. Unfortunately, they could well be maybe a wee bit worse.
Maybe even a wee bit worse, yeah.
Yeah, they could be, because they'll probably lose quite a few players in the summer as well. So it's looking very bleak for them.
No, absolutely it is. We'll finish up at Tallaght Stadium, where Shamrock Rovers beat St. Patrick's Athletic by 1-0. Rory Gaffney with an early goal in the second half. And this was a game I felt that if Shamrock Rovers played near enough their best football, it'd be difficult for Pats. But by talking to a lot of people who were at the game, the issue was, from a Pats point of view, I think the Shamrock Rovers weren't exactly brilliant on the night and still won the game. It seemed to be a case when Shamrock Rovers went in front, almost like, not consciously, clearly, but subconscious acceptance from Pats that Rovers were going to go on and win the game. So from that point of view, it's probably a bit disappointing for Pats. Obviously, from Shamrock Rovers' point of view, it's another win. You mentioned they'd responded since, I think they've won every game since that Sligo game, haven't they? So they've responded very well. And it's a crucial 3 points with Derry losing as well. And obviously cutting that gap to 3 points as well. And creating a bit of a gap, actually, because they're 5 points ahead of third at the same time. So there's a little shape with the first and second starting to come into play. Rovers will be just delighted to get the win on the night. Pats will do this. I still think Pats are searching. I don't think it'll be a season of searching. I think it's too early to be looking at judging managers or anything, and they will be in the mix. I mean, they've got UCD on Monday as well, and then they've got Finn Harps, but that's obviously something we talk about, later on or whatever. But still, Shamrock Rovers' last couple of games have showed their grind outside again, which is coming back to the fore a little bit, and they'd be delighted to go out and beat Pats, maybe without being at their best. Apparently, as well, I was told that they should have had a penalty in the game as well. Didn't see it, so I can't comment. But look, they got the 3 points anyway. So from the Shamrock Rovers' point of view, it's irrelevant, really.
Whenever the result in the Brandywell happened, the only thing would have been on. The only important thing for Shamrock Rovers was not they drop any points. Basically, they had to get the win, not they had to get the win, but they would have been disappointed if because they kicked off at 8:00. So they'd have been disappointed if they had drawn that game and Derry had lost. It was probably the result where they probably weren't expecting. They were probably expecting, right, we just need the win to keep in touch, keep within 6 points of Derry. In the end, they managed they halved the deficit, but it's the way the league's going to be. Nobody's going to win every game. We're going to have bad performances. It's about how you respond. And we talked there that Shamrock Rovers have responded well from the draw against Sligo. Like, if they had lost that game, they could well have been out of the title race, even that early on. You know what I mean? But they've showed their champions mentality, and they're going on, and that's the key now. Is can they keep going and put the pressure on Derry and see how Derry respond? The wee bit of a setback, but look, fantastic win. Whether it was Rovers didn't play well or not, it's a fantastic.
I think they did deserve it based on really Pat's performance as well. But I think one of the things with Rovers as well is that earlier on the season they were giving away uncharacteristic goals. Even the goal up in Derry, McGonigal, by the way, takes it well. But that Lopez mistake doesn't really happen, But now they've gone back. It's like they've gone back to that foundation. They've gone back to basics, basically.
Yeah.
You know, they have the
Yeah.
quality and they've got players who can score goals at any given moment. But the key last season was they were giving away nothing. Now in the second half, I believe Pats didn't have a shot on goal, but you'd have to give Shamrock Rovers a lot of credit for that too, I think.
Yeah, because they probably got a wake up call at some point in them first 6-7 games. Like they were probably like thinking, "Oh, we'll break our way into the season," and then all of a sudden they found themselves 6 points adrift, and then they've right, here we go. We need to start. We're the champions here. We need to start getting our act together. We're conceding soft goals. Like you just mentioned the game out in the Brandywell against Derry, then the one against Sligo, the back pass where he was looking and he passed it back. So they've gone back to basics, and at this, literally, they're probably just thinking, you know what, let's not make it pretty. Let's just get the 3 points on the board, and they've done that. And St. Pat's, was it no winning 4 now for them? That'd be
no winning 4. I think the disappointing thing really for Pats is really, like, I know Rovers mightn't have been 5-star last night, but realistically, if Pats had beaten, say, Drogheda and Dundalk, or at least one of them at home, it would make the defeat to Rovers away not so bad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That was the real killer. The back-to-back home games where they failed to get 3 points in. That's cost them more than this game, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I 100% get what you're saying. If they'd picked up a win in them games, you'd be thinking, right, we can go to Tallow and afford to lose. Not that you want to go to Tallow and lose, but you could probably think, right, well, that's a free hit now in Tallow, but because you hadn't 3 games, you're actually going to Tallow and having to try and get something. And we all know that we're having to try and get something in Tallow. It's not an easy venue anyway. So, look, St. Pat's will want to, like, there's no wins in 4. They'll really want to now. They need to get back on the winning horse now in the next few games, because we've seen now that Dundalk have leapfrogged them, and they will not want to let Dundalk get further in front of them. So huge win for Shamrock Rovers in the context of the result coming from the Brandywell. Like it's going to be like this for the rest of the season. Twists and turns, whether it's in the top 2, top 3, Europe, bottom, there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. Nobody's going to win every game. So great win for Rovers. Disappointing result for Pats, but both teams will be looking they go out now on Monday night and really let Pats will look to go out on Monday night and try and get a win, obviously, because they've now been leapfrogged by Dundalk. Rovers will be looking to go out and build on the last. They've won 3-4 in a row. They've won now, so they're really champions mentality. And look, great win for Rovers, and but it was a result that we probably expected, to be honest, on the form of both teams.
Absolutely. It's supposed to go on and give our predictions for the games on Monday, and there's some juicy ones on Monday as well. Shelbourne and Bohs actually very interesting Dublin Derby at Talca Park, because Shelbourne's away record compared to their home record. Bohs, as we know, are flaky. I think this is going to be a big one. There's always a bit of need with Shelbourne and Bohs. It's kind of like the North Dublin Derby. You know yourself, not much between the grounds. Talcan and Dalymount, you're talking about a 5-minute drive, really, like, you know. So
you can see the Dalymount floodlights from Talca.
You can, exactly, yeah. It's amazing, really. But look, it's going to be a really interesting game, and I'm expecting one of those full-blooded games. It's a difficult one. I'm trying to think of a result here, but I have a feeling that win Shelbourne got against Derry will leave them on a high. I think Bohs might struggle a little bit to get over that mentally in time, if you like. I think Shelbourne might pinch this one 1-0.
I think they might win it too. Like if they don't, it'll be a really disappointing result. If they don't, in my opinion, like they go to Brandywell and play the way they did, and win that game, and then you're going back home. They play your rivals basically. They'll want to take that second half performance in this game and see if they do. I can only see one winner, to be honest with you. And they took the lead in Dalymount, didn't they, as well, earlier in the season, and they conceded late on. So they'll probably have that game in their mind, saying, look, we took the lead against Seasons. We threw it away late on. Let's go and show them what we're about. That we're not here to make up on it. We're actually here to compete. And we're looking to take one of the spots. And I think Shelbourne will win this think they'll win this comfortably. I think they'll win it 2-0.
Big shout, be interesting. UCD take on St. Patrick's Day at Belfield, and let's be honest, Pats have to win this game. But as you say, they haven't won in 4. If they don't win this game, you would be a little bit worried, to be honest, even though they'd still be in the mix. But I just think they have to go and win this game. No disrespect to UCD, but other teams are generally beating UCD comfortably. It's a must-win for Pats. And also, the fact that UCD playing the Friday and Monday, I think that hurts them more than any other team. So, realistically, Pats should be winning it, but I do think they will win it too. I think they'll go for 2-0.
Aye, it's like Pats. This is a game that Pats can afford not to win. You know what I mean? Like, especially on the back of not winning in 4 games, you can't not go to UCD and not win. I think they will. I think they'll have too much for UCD, and I'm going to say 2-0.
Yeah, another Northwest. That seems to be UCD's most common result this season, the 2-0 defeat, by the way. Another Northwest derby, not the Northwest derby, I would say, but Finn Harps take on Sligo Rovers at Finn Park. And judging what I've seen of Sligo and seen them like literally live the other night, and Finn Harps, the way they play and the confidence they would have got after that, the way they got that draw. Again, I'm finding it difficult to see Sligo get anything from the game. That said, this league is strange. Sligo go and win 3-0 and we're all laughing about it the next day or whatever. But I think Finn Harps will win it. I think it'll be full blood. I do think there'll be goals. I'll go 2-1 Finn Harps.
Aye, like Finn Harps they'll be really boiled by that performance in Dalymount. They get a draw from the position that they were in, and down to 9 men, battling to a point. Now you've got Sligo, who you're in free fall basically, coming to Finn Park, which is never an easy venue anyway. And I'm going to say 2-1 Finn Harps as well.
Shamrock Rovers had Hull stage against Dundalk, and it's worked well for Shamrock Rovers in terms of Friday and Monday. They've had 2 home games. So again, this won't be an easy game. Dundalk, as I said, best performance of the season on Friday. Not conceding many goals, look quite solid defensively, which surprises me a little bit, I'll be honest, but they do. Tight game again. I think Shamrock Rovers might do something similar though to what they did against Pats and nick it 1-0.
Yeah, big. As I say, Dundalk, I think, will kick on from that win over Sligo Friday night. The one thing that you don't want whenever you've picked up a big win like that is then you have to go to Tala, and they'd have wanted maybe Pats. They'd have wanted to be playing Pats or Drogheda or Derry or just anybody but some Shamrock Rovers and Tala. But if there's no easy games in this league, as we saw already in the first 10 games, and there can be shock results. And look, a part of me wants to say Dundalk's going to get a draw in this game, but I think Shamrock Rovers I think they'll win it 1-0 as well.
No, a very interesting game, I have to say. By the way, I'll be at Shels and Bohs and Drogheda Derry on Monday, incidentally, as well. So that's going to be a bumper Monday for me. But Drogheda Derry, it's going to be more interesting than I kind of first thought as well, based on the results on Friday. Because as you said there as well, Drogheda unbeaten in 5, Derry's first defeat of the season. I'm very interested to see how they react to that, because that's always going to be the test. Drogheda and the way they're playing at the moment, and at home, big crowd, they will be difficult to beat there, regardless of the result Derry on Friday, in my opinion. But it's going to be a real test of Derry's character. If Derry were to go win, say, 1-0 or something, I'm kind of going, all right, these might be able to really push Rovers. But if they were to go and lose, let's say, then you're going, you know what, maybe Rovers are going to win it by a decent margin in the end. Funnily enough, I'm sitting on the fence in this one, because I do think, and I don't think a draw, for me, if Derry were to get a draw necessarily, would question their character or question where they're going, because I do think it's actually a very difficult game at this minute in time. So for that reason, I'm going to go for a 1-1. I think Drogheda could well get a draw in this game.
I think it's a test of Derry's character. It's become a must not lose, if you get what I'm saying. I know that we're not at the stage of, you have to win this game, you have to win that game, but it's on the back of what happened on Friday night, that you basically have to go now to Drogheda and put in a performance and don't come away with a defeat. We went down there near the end of last year and lost 1-0 after putting in a fairly decent first half display. We conceded right on half time.
Strange match that, actually. I was there as well.
It was. And Drogheda are unbeaten in 5, so this is going to be a difficult game, as you say, regardless. I'm going to go for 0-0 in this game.
That's interesting. Even the Derry man doesn't think he'd win, but we'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching.
I think we can win. I just think Drogheda will make it difficult for us, and we'll be going out. They put in a look. I hope we go on and win this game 2-3-0, but I just think we're not creating a wild lot either, Derry. We're not creating a wild lot of chances, clear cut chances, and I just think we could end up 0-0 this game.
Thanks very much, JP. Guys, we'll leave it there. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. Hit your bell notification button so you keep up to date with videos. Let us know what you thought of the games the weekend, particularly the games we didn't see, and give us a few predictions for Monday night's games. Thanks. Actually, just to say as well, all Monday's games are at separate times, by the way, guys, as well. 3, 4, 5. I think there's one at 7:45 and one at 7. It's a bit of a strange one, but that's the way it is. And have a good bank holiday weekend.